right, we said we weren't going to talk about AI last time, but we didn't say that we weren't going to talk about Elon Musk. This man can't stay out of the headlines, and so I think Presley already knows what we're going to talk about starting off, and that is the Twitter rebrand. So, Presley, tell us about it.
Basically, Elon, having an obsession with one letter in particular, is rebranding Twitter completely to X,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yep.
I think it's just a white X. It was a very dramatic reveal, a
hmm
very dramatic animation, but it's a black background with a white letter X.
Yeah, he was doing some tweets about this, and it was like, hey, if y'all can send us a logo that looks good enough, we'll launch it tomorrow. And it just, which is the most like Elon thing to do. It's just so crazy that he rebranded it. And I don't know about you, but I got a lot of mixed feelings about this. Because obviously it's been Twitter forever. And I think like part of that branding you're gonna lose or you're gonna miss. Just like some of the vocabulary of like tweet something or just the whole branding is now gone. Um, and then also that it was just kind of like out of nowhere. And some of the like your phone, it still says Twitter. There's still lots of brands. It wasn't like all at once, basically. So I don't know. What are your first thoughts on it?
Well, first impression was, yeah, do we still call it tweeting? Do we
I
say
don't know.
someone tweeted something, someone twote? We've never really
Well,
said twote, but uh, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to a rebrand since it really
yeah.
is a new company. That wouldn't surprise me, but just to rename it X, I mean, that would go along with his other naming conventions, calling his AI XAI and SpaceX
Mhm.
and just X everywhere. I don't understand the obsession.
I don't either, but at least it's consistent. Like he has a brand throughout everything that just kind of relates to him. And what I also think is funny too, we talked about this a few episodes ago about how important it is to have a social media that's already established. If you think about it, if you really think about it, he could have just started a social media called X instead of buying Twitter for $44 billion just to then rename it into something that's his own. Um, I don't know. I think it is cool though. One thing I thought was interesting that this just kind of shows you how rushed things were. To remove the Twitter sign at headquarters, they didn't have some kind of like permit or something, or there was some miscommunication, it turns out. I don't know how accurate this is because this is just like just coming out. But they had a stop in the middle of it, so it literally just said ER, the last two letters of Twitter for a while. And I would assume they would fix that within a few days. But yeah, everything, even certain brandings in different parts of the app, I mentioned like on your phone, it still says, Twitter. But so have you heard about the username change
No.
for Twitter? So there's a person who already has the at X username. So apparently they this is pretty funny.
Oh goodness.
The owner of the username X got an email from Twitter, or now X, notifying notifying him that the handle had been taken from him, and in return, he was offered free merch and a chance to meet management, which is pretty nice. But yeah, that is a people pay thousands and thousands of dollars to get certain like username handles, especially really big companies.
Right.
And all he got was an email saying it was gone. So if that's true, that's
I,
pretty funny.
I mean, that goes back to if you own the business, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
it's, I saw somewhere it's part of his plan to turn it into an everything app.
hmm
So I
Yes.
guess X, you know, from what little I actually remember about math when they started introducing letters, X is a variable. which
Ooh.
could, I guess, mean anything, or in this case, everything.
Yeah, what else have you heard about that? Because that was actually something I was going to bring up was his everything stuff.
Well, I was going to speak to your other point
Okay.
that he could have just started his own app. I think if he did that, it wouldn't have near the amount of users signing up for it than if he just bought it. He's essentially just buying the
Completely
user
agree.
base.
Yep.
So I don't know. Do we what do we call it? Tweeting it goes to Xing.
I don't know. Sounds
A little weird.
a little weird.
I don't. I mean, I said this a while back. I'm ready for somebody to do something weird. We've got all the
Yeah.
content creating apps that we could ever dream to have, and
Mm-hmm.
I said I just wanted something new. And about a week later, we got Threads when we
Yeah.
said there was no Twitter competitor, and now Twitter is rebranding. Which maybe that's part of his plan. Also, is just to retain attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Threads added a followers feed now. I don't know if you saw that, but it just
I did not.
yeah, and I like that a lot. It's a big deal. In chronological order, so you can see things in real time as they were meant to be laid out. But going to that everything app, this is something that he he talked about having it also be a part of like banking and financial things.
Oh,
Yeah. So he literally means an everything app. X is the future state of unlimited interactivity centered in audio, video, messaging, payments slash banking. Creating a global
hmm.
market for ideas, goods, services, and opportunities. What do you think about that?
A little ambitious.
Yeah.
If anyone can do it, though, it'd be Elon. My
Yeah.
first immediate thought is that no app can do everything. That's why there's
Hmm.
so many of them. If one app could do everything at once, then there wouldn't be any other apps. So he's wanting it to literally be everything, more than just a social media platform. It wants your banking, probably some sort of shopping online market, a
Yeah.
website for collaborations. That's a lot.
Yeah, I think the vision is really cool, but how practical that is to get it all in one app where it actually looks appealing, I think is the difficult part because right now each app kind of has its own separate thing. There's a reason why Threads came out as a separate app rather than a part of Instagram. It's because they are completely different and kind of need their own app. Um, I don't know, especially for banking. But I guess his idea is you open up, I was going to say Twitter, you open up X and all of your social media, your payments, your banking, it's all tied into one thing. So you don't necessarily need anything else. And then this could be a bigger competitor to YouTube and some of the others. And then on top of that, I'd be very curious to see how the banking goes because he originally started. Was it? It was before PayPal. I think PayPal bought them out, but that was one of his very first companies. Actually, remember this?
That sounds familiar, but I completely forgot. You're saying he started PayPal?
He. Uh, that's a big statement. I think he started. I'll look this up. Elon PayPal.
I'm also looking at the I'm still gonna call them tweets. I'm just looking at the tweets from all the
Oh
hate
yeah.
and trolling that everybody's given Elon. It's pretty funny.
So I guess his obsession with the letter X started a long time ago because in 1999, Musk co-founded online banking platform X.com, and then that is what got bought out by PayPal. So that the X goes a very long way, and he's been into banking for a while. So
So his history is financial stuff.
yeah,
That's interesting that he's gonna go back to that.
yeah, I guess that would be a competitor for Venmo as well.
Venmo, Cash App,
Hmm.
those are the two big ones.
Right. Yeah, that could make it get a bigger jump. Think of like how Threads got a big jump because of Instagram. Well, whatever Elon Musk starts as a competitor to Venmo, it's automatically going to get a big user base because of Twitter. So that's not a bad idea.
Well, at that point, why don't you just buy Venmo or buy Cash App and then merge the two?
Yeah, true. I guess he had to start somewhere. He had to buy something big to start to get the users, and then maybe from there was his plan. But already, I already feel like Twitter has too much going on in the app. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, because I open it up, there's communities and lists which are very, very similar. Um, and it just starts getting, and then now there's spaces, and I just feel like the walls are tumbling in. They got rid of topics and but they added all this other stuff. It's just when you add too much, it loses the simplicity and the elegance. Because right now, Threads is so simple. So I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about that?
I would completely agree with you. Threads is simple, but it'll add more features, but at its root, it'll always probably be what Twitter was
Hmm.
to fill that need. I guess it is a smart business move to try and explore other possibilities with the Twitter app, but I don't know if renaming it to X and completely doing away with it. I think that, like you said, they're just doing too much, and it's going to be really difficult to do all of that all at once
Yeah, to do it
and do it
well,
well.
right? Yeah, because I kind of feel like the Twitter thing, it's kind of gotten a little cluttered, just with all the different features of it, and all of them are pretty cool ideas. I actually really like Spaces, just as an idea, because it kind of opens up to possibilities of more like just audio based conversations. Um, and like I've said in the past, not to get political, but it happens every week now. There was a presidential candidate that announced it on Spaces, and then actually, I know this is going to come out in a week from now, but at the date of recording this, tomorrow another presidential candidate is going to be on there. So it's just kind of cool to see it used in such a professional way. And I think that that idea is really cool, but maybe it would have been better if it was a separate app, especially if you get into the world of banking.
Right,
So, anyway,
right.
what you got?
And if,
Or any
yeah, who
comments?
knows where that's going to go. I was going to say one last thing I did see
Mhm.
that we didn't touch on. The URL, just X, the letter X, x.com now redirects to Twitter.
Oh, okay, that makes sense because he bought that years ago
Yeah,
with the
he's
payment.
he's he's quite the ambitious fella.
Hmm.
Uh, speaking of this, kind of ties into it. Speaking of financials and marketing and all that good stuff, TikTok apparently wants to launch its own market, selling items from China to consumers in the U.S. Like within the normal TikTok app, it's not going to be a separate
Oh,
thing.
interesting. I actually thought you were gonna steal my article because I actually have one about TikTok, but let's touch on that
Really?
first.
Well,
Yeah.
they must be another big company. What are your thoughts on that? I think
No
Instagram
kidding.
has a market where you can buy
Mm,
stuff. And I think TikTok may have, at one point, if not now, had a market where they were kind of the middleman, but they're going to
yeah.
be selling direct from China to consumers, apparently.
From China too. Well, I mean, everything's made in China, so it's like
Yeah,
buying
I
everything.
mean, it's not much. We won't see a difference as the end consumer. We're
Oh,
just still buying stuff.
yeah.
But
Well, I mean, that kind of ties into like what you said, what Elon's trying to do, where you get multiple functionalities from the same app. I mean, if they all start doing it, that could be really cool. But that also kind of gets you more tied, which is probably what they want, into the ecosystem, kind of like what Apple does. You get wrapped into things. And if you like the TikTok and just scrolling through those videos, there's a certain group of people that like that above anything else. Since you're already in the app, just go ahead and buy something, and then that benefits them. So I feel like that is a pretty good idea, and that actually makes an argument for why you shouldn't have it as a separate app, because people are less likely to buy things if they have to download another app.
man, I tell you, end users, they're pretty lazy.
Yes.
Getting people to do things very difficult. That's in theory, why so many people probably resisted TikTok for so long. It's obviously not a lot of effort to go to the App Store and download it, but one, it was the new cool thing, so of course people resisted it because of that. But like you said, getting people to download this app for this and another app for that, people are likely to use it if you just throw it into what they already have. Like for example, did you see Facebook added a dating tab?
No, I did not.
Yeah, you didn't see that?
No,
That's
how
pretty
did I
old
miss
news.
that?
That
Oh,
probably came out before we even started this podcast. Well, you're
okay.
not on Facebook, so that's
Oh,
that's probably
there's
how you
why.
missed it. I'm not on it for those curious. That's just one of those
Huh.
things like TikTok. I refuse to you know, leave that up to Facebook.
Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder how public the information is because you already have a social media on Facebook, so I'm sure everyone kind of sees like that you're.
Yeah, like can it go back to your main account? That
I don't
I've never
know.
used it or looked much into it, but yeah, that's one of the main tabs at the taskbar at the bottom where it has
Mm,
home, more settings, notifications,
it has its
marketplace.
own tab.
I don't know if it still does. I know it did
Okay.
when it first came out, and I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, they got rid of the news and added dating. I guess I mean there was a posted today this again it's a week ago when you're watching, but we actually had a little short or TikTok or whatever talking about the direction of Meta and how it's like a little bit different. So this kind of all just ties back into that. I feel like they especially with threads and everything else, they're kind of trying to go in a different direction than Twitter. I feel like Twitter's a little bit more focused on news and information and maybe some politics. And I think that threads, Meta, and Facebook, they're trying to get away from that because they've also probably gotten that reputation at least for me, for sure they have the reputation of people bickering and just getting upset over stuff. So I think they're kind of trying to change that. And like you have said in the past about the generation thing, that can appeal to a new generation, especially the dating. I don't know how many 70-year-olds are dating, but if they're doing a dating, that opens up to a different generation.
Did you say 7 or 70?
70.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 7. I was like,
Oh,
well,
I
I
hope I
mean,
didn't say 7.
well, there's a
I
lot
meant
of younger
70.
kids on Facebook. You remember, I don't know if the restriction is still there, but you remember when we were younger, like, I'll say younger, like 14, 15, and I think, let's say you had to be at least 18 to have a Facebook.
Mm,
People would just lie
yeah.
about their age and they thought they were so cool. I
Hmm.
remember that.
Dude, I remember there was a video game I couldn't play because I wasn't 13 and I had already given it my real, I think it was NBA 2K something. I already gave it my age. So I
Ah,
couldn't find a way to like change it or create a new account because it just knew I wasn't old enough to play online. Why can't I just play online anyway? I thought that was kind of dumb.
yes.
All right.
What
Well,
else?
I got the other TikTok news, so this kind of goes into everything. They now have the option for text only posts. Have you seen this?
I have not.
So whenever you go to like upload a video or anything, there's now a separate option just for text. And that's cool. I don't really feel like that's again their target audience and could have been another app. But the more everything's trying to be all in one, I felt like this was kind of interesting. It really just looks like a stories on Instagram, like just that basic background and fonts. It's not like a sub section of scrolling through anything. I haven't even seen it on the For You page yet. So I don't know how
Oh,
it really works, but I just thought that was interesting, them trying to add text only posts for TikTok.
that, I don't know. So
It's a little
now all the
stretch.
things we've talked about with TikTok is obviously they're into short videos, and the longer that app is out, the longer videos you can post. So that's kind of a YouTube competitor. because now you can add portrait and landscape. You know, you could just
Yeah.
rotate the video. You didn't used to be able to do that. And now they're adding a market or trying to put more of a focus on their marketing. So longer videos, marketing, and now text.
Yeah. It's a
But
lot.
it is a lot. These apps are very ambitious. I I don't know. Threads, they're not doing much, but they're doing it really well. I think they're slowly adding features as they go. But
Hmm.
these other apps, I don't know. Like you said, Twitter's overcrowded, and now TikTok will probably be the same. Granted, TikTok has started dying off in popularity, so I guess they have to do something. It can't stay the same forever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. You have to give people a reason to get sucked in into something. And if you give them like a marketplace or something like that, I feel like that helps. It's just really interesting to me how different companies go about things differently. Like Elon Musk seems to like if there's an idea, it just happens. But it
Yep.
may or may not turn out the best, but then you have other companies like Meta and they seem to be very, very careful, but they also might be a little too late to the party with stuff. It's just a difference in strategy with how different companies kind of operate. So,
Well, let me ask you this. In your opinion,
mm,
what should TikTok do? What's a feature you'd be like, oh man, if they did this, they'd get all the attention right back on them.
I think the marketplace is a good idea. I think it's a better idea than the text posts. Um, honestly, I kind of take that back. If they could find a way to implement its own section the same way that you have a For You page in the following, if they just had a separate tab where you could open the whole new idea of the text post and have like a feed, I think that would do really well. I just don't like the way that they implemented it. So it's not necessarily a bad idea, but it feels incomplete and just kind of dumb. It's just a side. I guess you could do a post with text, but it just doesn't feel good. The marketplace idea is good. I really feel like almost what's more important than even the idea that they have to do something is just the way things look visually and how the functionality of the app itself is. Because that's the biggest issue with Twitter, I feel like, is like everything's in different areas and it doesn't feel complete. I don't know. I think it's almost just as important to have a solid functionality than even the direction that they go down.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was gonna say the same thing. They need a better user interface.
Yeah.
Both TikTok and Twitter could not Twitter. Yeah, TikTok, Twitter, Threads is pretty good, but
Yeah, I like
those two in
threads.
particular, if TikTok was trying to be a YouTube competitor, like actually, then they probably need a separate screen to have full length videos with a title and a preview, similar to how
Yeah.
YouTube is laid out. If on the back end, they could handle that. Obviously, YouTube has the resources to be able to host very high quality video for long amounts of time. I don't know if TikTok, maybe they're restricted in that area, but I would like them to improve the way things look visually or have things a little more separated. Because right
Yeah.
now, Twitter, on that same note, offers a lot of features, but that is assuming that you're spending a lot of time in the app and you're going to heavily use these features.
Yeah.
Also, who
It's
asked for
yeah.
all these features? Nobody was like, man, I wish about Twitter. I'm getting really tired of tweeting, which is what 99% of people do. I want a space where I can message and
Yeah.
have spaces. I don't understand that.
Yeah, especially what's a little depressing is the communities. So they roll out this feature, communities and lists, which the difference is if you're in the community, anyone can post within that. It's kind of like when you just have a chat, kind of like our Discord, you can get in there and anyone can chat. Whereas lists, you can follow a list and every account that is within that will show up in that feed. You don't post anything, you don't talk, is how I've gathered. But you can see someone has created a list for you of accounts that are good to follow, which is a cool idea. But just seeing even like, okay, tech news, there's not a lot of good lists or communities for that. And if there are, it's like 1,000 or 2,000. And I was like, Twitter has a huge user base. I would be expecting in the hundreds of thousands for some of these things. I just don't think people care to use it. So, like you said, I just feel like some of these features are pointless and people don't use them.
Right. So in summing that up, so you'd like to see more of a focus on news and information.
Yeah, and a way to get it easier. Like, I
Mhm.
am not kidding you. The other day, because for this, I've been trying to keep up with news stories. I go onto Twitter, I type in tech news, tech, and technology. I tried different searches. When I put in technology, I got a long list of just uh, Asian text with some weird. I'm like, but in the tweet, it said technology in English. But I was getting all of these other things that had nothing to do with that topic, but they got rid of topics. So I can't follow the tech topic anymore. And it just feels like a headache trying to use it.
Yeah,
It's, I don't
I would
know.
say that most people use Twitter to get their news.
Hmm.
A lot of places, since it is such a news focused, politics focused, everyone's got a Twitter account. Celebrities, politicians, and I think people use Twitter to keep up with them. So maybe, like you said, if they did bring back topics or put more of a focus on news, that would be very beneficial. But that's if they stick with the way things have been at Twitter, which it sounds like they're not, and they're going to get into a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, honestly, ditch communities, ditch the list, add back topics. The trending, have a trending section for like technology or something like that. The trending idea is really cool, and I want to see that in threads, but a lot of it just feels really irrelevant. Like, is this really trending right now? You know?
Yeah.
So just kind of cleaning, it's basically, it needs a good cleanup. It's almost like
Hmm.
it should restart.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. It's almost kind of like it is. Maybe that's what long term we'll see. Once it,
Hmm.
this is still a very new company. Elon has a lot to figure out. We look at his other companies, Tesla, that's very successful, but that also started a long time ago.
Hmm. That's a good point.
So I do have something else.
Okay.
Did
I
you
do
see the
too.
news on AirTags?
Tell me more. Maybe.
Google, so the Apple AirTag, it's
Mhm.
about that big, and you can stick it in your bag, you can stick it on your keychain for those who don't know, and then you can track it on the Find Me app on your iPhone. Since it's an Apple product, it's pretty locked into the ecosystem, or it has been. And so here recently, I'd say probably about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, they worked out a deal with Google to help
Ooh.
avoid unwanted tracking. So the concern was that people would take these AirTags and like slip them in somebody's purse
Hmm.
who was who was an Android user, and then they could track them, and the Android user wouldn't know. Because on an iPhone, if there's an AirTag that stays in your general area,
Hmm.
it communicates with other iPhones and lets people know, hey, you're being followed or something like that. There's an AirTag near you. It has been for a while, something like that. And then
Hmm.
Android users would just kind of out of luck. But Apple and Google work together now. So now Android users get those notifications.
That's good. I'm glad that they did that. It feels like something that they just wouldn't do because, like, well, why aren't
Hmm.
you using an iPhone? But I'm glad that they did that. That needed to happen. That is a big deal, and I've heard a lot about that. I remember before it was even a thing where Apple didn't even give you that option for a while to get a notification. But then I think people started kind of abusing that where you could just slip it into something or attach it underneath someone's car. I mean, and you just start, I don't want to give people ideas, but it's pretty easy to use those things to follow people. But if you get a notification, that's pretty useful. Like we're gonna be going on a beach trip pretty soon, So if I stick in an AirTag in one of my bags, maybe Zach gets a notification like, hey, there's an AirTag that's been following you, but we were just carpooling. That type of thing. It's better to get just one annoying notification and err on the side of caution and be a little safer. So,
True.
yeah. I got one last thing. I thought this was kind of cool. So, picture this. You're driving down the road. Close your eyes. No, don't. Not when you're driving. And and instead of using a GPS that goes turn right in 1 mile, and then in 500 feet turn right, and then constantly like that, and it's interrupting your music, it's interrupting your podcast, it's interrupting everything. Instead of that, Apple is apparently trying to use spatial audio within CarPlay, within their headphones, so you can get these audio directions through sound that is less invasive to words. Because before, it lowers the volume of a song and you hear her talk, right? And it gets in the way. Instead, you would hear it ping in the direction that you needed to turn, or something along the lines of that. I have no idea how that would actually be better, but apparently there was some like patent that Apple was getting for this. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I'd be interested to try it, but I think that is going to confuse the mess out of everyone.
Yep.
I can just see myself right now driving down the road with my eyes open, and
Yes.
I'm at a roundabout.
Mm-hmm.
Am I just supposed to listen to a ping
I don't know.
going around my car and it sounds like it's all the way around me? That just sounds really confusing. Or where you're on, because cities are planned out so well, when you're on the road and you're like, okay, these two exits are right next to each other and they both have really long names.
Mm.
So reading it out loud is not going to help. Seeing it visually helps a little bit. And now there's a ping. Like, what's the difference between two exits that are like really close to each other and like they fork off and you're supposed to go right or left?
What if your
How are you
speaker
supposed to
blows
know?
out on the right side and then you just don't know? You miss a turn or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What if you've blown your speakers because you're listening to music too loud?
I don't know how. I mean, if it's gonna be used and Apple's gonna do it, I'm sure it's gonna be better than what I'm thinking it's gonna be. I thought this was interesting, but I'd be curious to see how they implement this, because the basic idea of trying to get rid of someone telling you directions through speech is a pretty cool idea, because pretty much what you're going to be listening to is going to have words, music, podcasts, audiobooks. So it's very annoying to have that constantly interrupted. And then a lot of people just end up turning it off and then you miss your turn.
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's what I do all the time. I have alerts only. I don't have the
Yeah,
directions.
I have alerts only, but I do have it up on the radio in my car, the screen. I always have that on so I can visually see it. And also, if you're using Apple Maps, I don't know if it does it with Google Maps or Waze, but if you're using Apple Maps, it'll start vibrating your watch when it comes close to
That's
getting
cool.
close to your turn.
I haven't noticed that on
That
Waze,
gets
but
that gets my attention if visually I don't catch it.
yeah, I feel like that's the ideal scenario. So I'm not sure where this is going to go, but
I'll have to see it
it's
in
something.
action. I won't
Yeah.
dismiss it. If it's Apple, it's probably going to be done really, really well and thought out and all that. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I may really like it. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, you got any other thoughts?
That's it
Anything
for me.
else? All right, me too. I'm done. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.